First, I'm going to review how the breadboard works. So as you can see, we have this grid of holes, and your components are just going to slot into those holes like this. For the breadboard, to make things easier, these rows are all connected. So if I take these two resistors and connect them like that, these two ends will be connected by a strip of metal. The same thing is for these columns, typically used for power lines, are all connected. So any components connected between these two columns will be connected. Again, we want these two resistors to be connected. We can plug them in like that, and here they will be. So, as sort of a demonstration, I'm going to go over the first circuit, a simple LED circuit. So for this, we're going to want our LED and a 1 kilo ohm resistor. Here, as you can see on the schematic, we're going to want our LED going from our positive rail, which is going to be our power, to any point in the breadboard. So let's do it like that. Perfect. As you can see, one side of the resistor here, one side there. Now, we want our LED to connect. And now one thing about the LED, you'll notice these two different lengths of legs, and also this little notch on the side here. That's not there. So the LED actually has a direction. And as you can see, this notch and shorter leg will correspond to the negative side of the LED. So the longer leg will be the positive side. And you'll want that connected to the other end of your resistor. So to do that, right, we have this row. We want to plug in our positive end of our LED to there. So now those are connected. And we'll want the negative end of our LED connected back to ground. And there you go. Very simple LED circuit. The next step is to connect power. So as you remember from the power supply video, we have our positive and our negative, or ground. And again, we want our positive connected to this resistor. But if we remember, this whole row is connected. So we can actually go ahead, clip our power line to this little wire, and plug it in right here. And now, that's all connected. Same exact thing. Now we take our negative, attach it to our wire, and again, we want this connected to our blue rail, which is here going to be ground. So we can just plug it in down here. And as you can see, the LED turns on. Pretty cool. So if you look at the schematic, again, we have our power flowing into our resistor, which then connects to the LED on this rail, and then back into the LED, which then connects to ground here. So that's a simple breadboarding circuit. I'm going to go over a more complicated one next. Okay, the next circuit schematic is shown on the left. For this, we're going to want a few more components. So first, we're going to want our TL071 Opamp. We're going to want our two 1K resistors. We'll also want a 51K resistor and our 47 nanofarad capacitor. So for this one, we like to start with the Opamp. Now, something about this Opamp, you'll notice that these legs are kind of parallel to each other. So you might think, oh, so let's just plug it in here. But remember, these rows are connected to each other. So these legs are going to short to each other. We don't want that. So what we do is we can set this guy across our center line, as you see here. And you're just going to want to carefully place him in and press him down. Sometimes you have to bend the legs a little inwards to get it to fit, but should be no problem. Now, for this circuit chip, you'll notice a little dot. That's going to correspond to pin 1 of the chip. So right next to that dot, sometimes it'll be a little notch here, but usually there will be a marker. To the left of that is always your pin 1. Now, the pin numbering, as you can see on the schematic, corresponds to the different purposes of the chip. Here, we start with 1, and then we go down 2, 3, 4, and we loop back around 5, 6, 7, 8. Some chips are going to have more pins than this, but that same numbering system will go all the way around. So next, I'm going to look at the positive terminal of our op-amp. So there, pin 3, we want to connect our 1K resistor. So we go 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to plug in our resistor here, and I'm just going to send it off to this side. Next, we want to take our other 1K resistor, also going from the positive terminal, and we're going to go from there down to our ground rail, which here is going to be these 2 negative rails are both going to be ground. So boom, there. And now, as you can see, this R3 is connected to ground, but this R2 needs to be connected again to pin 6 of the op-amp, which is the output. So, to connect that pin, we're going to want to bridge this pin to our pin 6. The way we like to do this neatly is by using some short wires. So first, I'm going to bridge this resistor, again this whole row, down to this whole row. Now those are all connected. And from there, I'm going to take this to pin 6. So remember, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This wire is going to connect us from pin 6 down to there, the other end of our resistor. Boom. Now we have from positive resistor to pin 6 and resistor to ground. Next, we're going to want to connect up our 51K and 47 nanofarad capacitor. So here we're going to actually start from pin 6. So first, I've got my 51K resistor that is coming out of pin 6, and we're just going to throw them over here. And now this end of the resistor we want connected to the negative terminal. So again, here we're going to connect this row, jump back across with this short little wire, and now again, this resistor is now connected across to this same row because of that wire. And we want to take this down to our pin 2. So, take a short little wire, line up pin 2, and our other node, and press down. Perfect. The next step is going to be adding the capacitor. So, we're going to want to connect this in right to this node. And remember, this resistor is now connected to pin 2. So we can actually just connect our capacitor to that same node. And now that is connected to pin 2. Last, we want to connect this last end of the capacitor to our ground rail, which again I said these 2 blue lines are going to be ground. So we just take our little wire and we're going to plug it in right there. And this one's a little short, but we're going to make do. There we go. So now you can see our completed circuit, except you might notice that there are two more connections that I don't have on this board. That's going to be pin 7 and pin 4, our plus and minus 15 volts. So the last step before plugging in power is to actually connect our circuit to power. So again, here we're going to start with pin 7. And just a quick reminder, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this row 14. So here, I'm just going to take a short little wire and I'm going to connect that to here and press that in. Now, the last step is to connect pin 4. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be going to this red rail, which I know it says plus. This is going to be our negative 15 volts. I encourage you to use your creativity when assigning these rails. So again, starting pin 4, which here is row 16, connect this little green guy between there and there, and just press him in. Nice. So as you can see, we have our full circuit. And just a quick walkthrough again. We have from pin 3 up at the top there, resistor to ground, and then resistor to pin 6, which is our output. And now from pin 2, which is our negative, down at the bottom there, we're going to have capacitor to ground, right, connected through those wires, and then resistor to our pin 6. And finally, pin 7 to plus, pin 4 to minus. And now we can go ahead and plug in our power. So now to connect our power, first I'm going to want to short our two ground rails together, just like that. So now these two rows are connected, and just like last time, we've got our plus 15, our ground, so we can go ahead and connect those up like so, plus and ground. But now we have this minus 15 volts. Here we've got the blue, and that's going to go plug in to this rail. And if we go ahead and turn our power supply on, you'll notice it doesn't actually do anything yet. So right now, the circuit's actually creating a little signal that we're actually going to study in the next video, which is the oscilloscope. So I hope to see you there.